Slot got to taste what the Premier League is all about. The fraud thought he was still playing pre-season friendlies. Not going to lie guys, these are just a few examples of what our rivals were saying after the first 45 minutes of our opening Premier League game against Ipswich Town. And to be honest, they had every right to dream about Liverpool's downfall, especially with the below average performance of the first period. But a game is never finished until the final whistle, and this game was literally a match of two halves, where the Reds struggled during the first one but completely obliterated Kieran McKenna's team in the second half. So in case you missed the game, or you're interested in a tactical analysis of our first match under Arne's slot, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's delve into the analysis. So before we get into what went on during the game, we need to have a look at what Arne's slot selections for the starting lineup were. To no one's surprise, Alisson started between the post with both Jurgen Quansah and Virgil van Dijk forming the centre-back partnership. Trent Alexander-Arnold occupied the right-back position as expected, but the change was on the left where Andy Robertson featured for the first time under the new manager, taking Tsimikas' place, who featured across all pre-season matches. The midfield consisted of Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai, with the Dutchman being the deepest player of the lot. The front line had no surprises as all of Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah and Diogo Jota all formed the striking force. So the game started with Liverpool doing something that was consistent during pre-season, and that is building out from the back in a 4-2-4 shape with the intention to invite Ipswich Town's press in order to create more space in behind to attack. Unfortunately, the Reds struggled to bring their build-up effectiveness, which we saw in pre-season for the whole of the first 45 minutes, which made the game a lot tougher than it should be for Arne Slot's men. So what exactly happened? Well, let's explore this. First, we need to give full credit for Kieran McKenna and his men for their performance. Pressing in a 4-2-4 shape, Ipswich matched Liverpool's numbers during the build-up phase, which played a massive part in stopping the Reds' progression from deep. It's also worth mentioning how physically capable the opposition's players were. See, Liverpool dominated possession in the first half with 57%, completing 197 passes in the process. However, that wasn't enough to pose any real threat as we only managed 18 final third entries and just 3 shots with none being on target. On the other half, Ipswich, who had less possession and less passes completed, were the much threatening team going forward, and that was mainly due to one thing: physicality and duel domination. See, McKenna's side won 58% of the first half duels and 64% of their tackles, compared to the Reds' 40%. After the game, Arne Slot went on to say that there is no need to talk about tactics if we don't win our duels. But we want to highlight one tactical point that led to our team struggling to build up play and take advantage of the high ball possession that we had. See, whether it was through the 4-2-4 build-up shape or when Trent Alexander-Arnold inverted into midfield to form the double pivot and 3-2 shape, Ipswich's constant high pressing in a 4-2-4 block forced Liverpool to go long for the majority of the time, losing the ball in the process as the opposition had better duelists. At the same time, both Trent and Gravenberch were too static behind Ipswich's initial pressing line, which played straight down to the opposition's hands. This is why the backline kept inviting pressure through short passes, but with no outlets to slowly progress the ball higher up the pitch. And in addition to the lack of movement, Trent was never comfortable in receiving the ball with his back to goal, and Gravenberch was reluctant to do so despite his ability to receive on the half turn. See, the Dutchman, who was the main player tasked with being the first ball receiver, whether he was paired with Trent, Maka or Szoboszlai in the double pivot, looked like he lacked confidence in the first period to play such an important role. But fortunately, that changed in the second half, and we'll dive deeper into that in a little bit later. Now, combine everything we discussed about and you'll find out how Liverpool struggled to build up play and create any half-decent chances in the first period. But not only that, the Reds were extremely vulnerable to transitions, especially in the wide areas. That was mainly because of Jurgen Quansah's limited ability to defend wide channels on the right, and Andy Robertson, who's been targeted both in and out of possession by Ipswich players. But as we mentioned earlier, this game was a match of two halves, and thankfully the Reds showed a completely different performance in the second period. See, it all started with Slot bringing in Konate in the place of Jurgen Quansah. Now one might wonder, How can such a defensive substitution bring so much change to a team's offensive approach? Well, let us explain. Here you can see both Konate and Quansah occupied the same positions, but it was Trent who got more freedom on and off the ball. See, Konate might be the best channel defending centre-back in the whole world thanks to his pace, physicality and game-reading ability. His abilities were the main reason why Trent was used as an inverted fullback last season, as the Frenchman provided the needed cover. And guess what? Once he came on, Ipswich struggled to take advantage of any transitions, but that wasn't all. With Konate locking down the right-hand side, Trent was capable of moving freely across the pitch. 5 minutes before the goal, he started a dangerous attack from the middle of the park. He then proceeded to crash the box, almost assisting Diaz to score the opener. But that wasn't all. Konate's ball progression ability, through passing, was there for everyone to see, leading up to the goal as he launched the top pass towards Gravenberch, bypassing Ipswich's initial line of press. Gravenberch in turn, who looked much more confident in the second half and had way better off-the-ball movement, drove the ball forward and passed it to Salah. The Egyptian then laid the ball back to Trent, who was facing the play this time, another key aspect of his game unlocked by Konate's presence on the pitch. And as we all know, whether it was centrally or in wide areas, you give the ball to Trent with him facing the player and he can split open any defence with a range of passes. This time it was with an inch-perfect through ball towards the Salah, who provided the assist to Diogo Jota. Now, we don't know about you guys, but have you noticed something recognisable leading up to this goal? Well, if you've been following us during the pre-season games, you'd know that we highlighted a consistent pattern that the Reds were using during those matches. It's the up, back and through pattern, and it was on full display during the build-up leading to our first goal. Grav played up the pass, Salah with the back to Trent, and then the number 10 operating from the fullback played through the pass to finish the sequence. The Reds looked in control since the half-time whistle, and it became even more evident after the first goal was scored, which is why the second goal came in fast through the Egyptian king, who never failed to score or assist during the opening weekend of a Premier League season. And guess what? The second goal was also created thanks to Gravenberch providing himself as a passing option, playing the ball back immediately towards Van Dijk. See, this kind of bounce passes was missing during the first half of the Reds, something that disrupted our build-up play. However, with Gravenberch being closer to his teammates, having better movement off of the ball and higher confidence, the build-up phase saw a massive improvement as we saw, leading the Reds to score 2 goals. Going back to the goal, how good was that long ball from Virgil van Dijk? But that's not it. Dominic Szoboszlai's late arrival into the box was also key in providing the assist for Salah, as he used his powerful running momentum to get away from his partner before slipping Salah through on goal. The rest of the game was a walk in the park for the Reds, creating most of the chances while not allowing Ipswich a shot at getting back into the game, which is something we need to focus on in the coming games, as Liverpool struggled to maintain control over matches last season. There's another key point that we need to address, and that's how Liverpool turned things around when it comes to duels in the second half. Contrary to the first period, the Reds dominated 55% of the second half duels, while winning 50% of their tackles. See, the possession and passes stat were the same as the first half, but this improvement in duels and defensive numbers played a huge role in how Liverpool shifted to second and third gears throughout the second half. Was it the perfect performance to kick off the campaign? Some might disagree, however it was a perfect scoreline, especially with the Reds maintaining control over the game in the latter stages of the match and showing their ability to maintain physical levels in the second half despite underperforming in the first. There's still a long way to go until we see slot ball in full effect. However, these early signs are more than enough because remember, the club is still in a transitional phase. So what did you think about the Reds' performance? Were you satisfied with how Liverpool turned things around? And who was your man of the match? Let us know your thoughts on everything down there in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed our analysis, do hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.